So hello. I'm in Chinatown right now for no reason. It has no symbolic meaning. It's just I fancied a change of scenery. There's some sort of nice smells. In fact, I can smell a new aroma. That's lies, by the way. You can't smell anything new around here. It's Chinatown essentially smelt of fried duck for the past 50 years. Now, information. Hopefully you've had a look at the new update that has come from the Bilderberg Fringe Festival, which a lot of people are finding exciting, and I'm finding highly suspicious. In fact, I think I've got a good handle as to what's going on here. Of course, they're now letting people use, or letting the festival use, part of the Grove grounds, but only from Friday, when people are actually arriving in limousines. That's on the Thursday. Not many people are going to be allowed actually anywhere near the actual venue on the Thursday, unless of course you can get into the press tent. There's certainly not going to be enough room for everybody in the press tent. No way is there going to be enough room, so there's going to be a select amount of people allowed into the press tent. Everyone else is going to be stuck behind the military cordon. Now, the military cordon, I believe, is going to be a heavily armed cordon. I think almost certainly it's going to be like a heavily armed cordon, because I found out through a bit of research that took actually a few weeks. Ever since I went to the Grove, I've been inquiring about public rights of access onto these public footpaths and things like that. And the Grand Union Canal goes through there. Are they going to be shutting that off? And the answer is yes. So I actually contacted Hertfordshire County Council, and the guy there, who was very short with me, if you understand what that means, he was very, very short with me. I'm being distracted by the trinkets. Sorry about that. He let me know, after me hassling for a little bit, which statute is being used to shut the public right of access, and it's really quite interesting. I'm going to keep reading on this piece of paper that I've got, by the way. Sorry about that if that's distracting. It is the Road Traffic Regulation Act 1984 that is being used to shut the roads. They're using clause 14 brackets 2 and clause 22C. Now, clause 14 is they have the ability to temporarily shut off a road if there is a present danger to the public. So number 14 is essentially being used because of the narrowness of the road and the fact that there's going to be too many people, and possibly it's a danger to the public. Oh my god, that's terrifying. What the fuck? This is what they have inside the Grove. Holy shit, that is scary, isn't it? What the fuck is this place? Interesting. It's very distracting walking through Chinatown, lots of interesting stuff. So there's a danger of the public, obviously lots of people gathering on a very narrow footpath, and so they're worried that obviously people are going to be hit by cars, and so they use section 14 of the Road Traffic Regulation Act 1984 to shut the roads. That's fine until you read on and you realise that they're also using a rather controversial part of the Road Traffic Regulation Act called section 22C. Now, section 22C is the danger to the public, or the danger to reduce. Let me read the actual writing. It is 22C, terrorism. For the purpose of avoiding or reducing the likelihood of danger connected with terrorism, and the order has to be given by the chief constable, which of course made me look into who is the chief constable of Hertfordshire Police. And of course the ramifications of this are so I almost sound Chinese now. The ramifications go something like this. The protesters, or the so-called protesters, i.e. us, are, or could be, terrorists. That is the insinuation. They're shutting the roads and putting about a military cordon area, which is going to be enforced because of the threat of terrorism against the people who will be attending the meeting. And of course the threat of terrorism comes from us. So the reason they want to check us and make sure we're okay is because of, conspiracy theorists, of course, are well known that they cause massive terrorist bombings. Now, the chief constable of Hertfordshire Police is somebody called Andy Bliss. Now, Andy Bliss has a very interesting history. He took quite a long time to get to the position of Chief Constable of Hertfordshire Police. Along the way, he was responsible for the implementation of the counter-terrorism intelligence unit for the whole eastern segment of the United Kingdom. So this guy is heavily involved in the implementation of counter-terrorism intelligence. So he seems to be the right guy for the job. It also happens that he specialises in tackling crime against minority communities. Now I'll spell that out again. He specialises in tackling crime that is aimed against minority communities. And what more of a minority than the 1%? So he's an expert in protecting small groups of people who are the minority. Very relevant again. Tick tick. This guy is the right man for the job. Andy Bliss. He was the operational commander for the policing of 2 Labour conferences. Now I've searched a lot and I can't actually find out which Labour conferences it's referring to, but you can be sure that the Labour conferences that it's referring to involved somebody called a Mr. Tony Blair. You can be sure about that. He also, this guy Andy Bliss, he also specialises in the corporate development of the police force. Yeah, drill on that one. Kind of makes your head spin. Now, the corporate development of the police force, I don't know whether you know this, but I shouldn't have walked down this road. The corporate development of the police force seems to be involving G4S. This guy will probably end up at some point being high up management in G4S, I would have thought. That's of course if he can pull off this beautiful operation. Now, ask yourself this question: if the festival is being held inside the Grove area, inside the Grove grounds, and you need to get into the Grove grounds by getting through a military cordon, which is an anti-terrorism armed cordon where you're not allowed to stop a car, or presumably they'll point guns at you. Is this the kind of activity that we find reasonable and is conducive to what is called a celebration of freedom? Because that's what it says in the update to the Bilderberg Fringe Festival. Join us for a celebration of freedom. Now, how do you celebrate freedom? By walking through a military anti-terrorism intelligence cordon.